clear of the closing doors, please.
All right, here we go. Subway Sports Talk. My name is Peter Kennedy, and I am your host. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning into SST on Apple Podcast app, Spotify, and on YouTube. All that stuff on YouTube has been looking great. We got the YouTube Shorts. Don't forget about the social media as well, at Subway Sports Talk, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. We're cooking. One of the main cookers, one of the main chefs on that Twitter account at Subway Sports Talk is our co-host today, Cody O'Connor. How are we living, brother?
I'm living fantastic, out of sight, out of mind with baseball. And other than that, it's been wonderful. And I appreciate you giving me the information to get me onto the Subway Sports Talk platform on Twitter so I can get some of those thoughts out there, some of those bets, some of those feelings. It's almost like having a burner, and it's been wonderful. So we've mentioned before, some of those tweets are coming from me, and I've been loving every second of it. So thank you, Pete.
And the best part is like, for better and worse, now I get people in my life being like, oh, like I saw you had a nice weekend, hit a couple bets. I'm like, what? Did I hit a couple? Am I that bad at betting that I forget that I even won a couple? And then I realize, like, nope, it's just Cody on Subway Sports Talk cooking up and doing what he does, and people just assuming that it's me. I think our friend Andrew Kalanya actually replied specifically saying, like, Pete, like, this is blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, actually, the SST admin's going crazy. It ain't me.
Yep. Specifically, he said Olive Garden was on you this week.
Yes, there you go. That was it. It was great stuff. And I'm glad you also said that baseball is out of sight and out of mind, because we're definitely not going to spend the next 15 minutes talking all about the Mets, which is not going to make you miserable or anything like that.
It's so bad. I don't even want to talk about it. It sucks. It sucks.
Yeah, the Mets suck. The Yankees are good. The NBA Finals is almost set, and that's the podcast, everybody. Have a great Thursday, and we'll see you soon. But no, for real, Pete Kennedy and Cody O'Connor here. We are going to talk about the New York Mets. We're going to talk about the New York Yankees, and we're going to touch on some NBA stuff. I'm going to throw some things at Cody. We'll have a nice little conversation about the NBA playoffs, because there's still some fun, interesting storylines. Definitely some overarching disappointment with the sweep for Boston against Indiana. And maybe we're going to get more of a series with Dallas and Minnesota with that series still going on. It's 3-1 Dallas. That comeback has never been made before. We also thought Minnesota was dead against Denver. So before we count them out, we got to watch what's going to happen in games 5 and maybe 6 and maybe 7. So who's to say? But we will get to NBA. But we are going to start in the place of misery, even though you wanted it to be out of sight, out of mind. The New York Mets. Cody O'Connor. I've been working on this all day. You know the saying, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts?
Yes, I do.
No one often says that saying in the contrary. And I believe that's who the New York Mets are. The whole is less than the sum of its parts. Because I don't care how bad and miserable it's been to watch this team. I have a hard time accepting that they're this bad, Cody. Am I grabbing for air right now? Or should this team be freaking better? What do you say?
I mean, coming into the season, what we all said was we were worried about the pitching staff, specifically the starters, felt that there would be some type of strength in the bullpen, and that we thought that the lineup could bounce back from last year with some small additions, with some young guys coming up, and potentially be at least a formidable lineup. And they are none of those things. I mean, this lineup has been atrocious. And yeah, you would think that they should be better, but it's starting to feel like this is just who they are. That 2022 was unfortunately more of the blip on the radar, and that this is just what they are. They're not a very clutch team. They feel like they have bad approaches. I mean, hell, they have one guy batting 300. It's Mark Vientos, who's just doesn't have the same number of at-bats as the other guys. JD Martinez is 270, and the rest of the team's below 270. It's been really difficult to watch. When the hitting does start to go something else, whether it's starting pitching or bullpen or a combination, it's getting harder and harder to believe in any type of a comeback for this year. And therefore, it's getting really difficult to believe that this core has much time remaining.
Yeah, it's one thing to be playing below expectation, and it's another thing to just be tacking on bad loss after bad loss after bad loss. Like every team has bad losses. You can argue the Yankees had one just 2 days ago, right? They're currently about to throw first pitch, so I'm saying 2 days ago when they lost to the Angels. Like, is that a bad loss? Whatever. You're going to lose baseball games. It is what it is. Like the Angels are 12 games above 500. I mean, under 500. Are you going to get so pissed as a Yankee fan you're not going to be able to sleep? No, you're a team that's almost 20 games above 500. You're going to lose some games. It is what it is. The New York Mets have had a way in which they're losing games like dramatically, gut punches, just pathetically, like giving up leads left and right. And the weirdest part, Cody, is like baseball has more and more so become this analytically driven game. Like you can look at statistics and really have a grasp of who's playing well and who's not playing well. The weird thing about the New York Mets is like they have some guys who are analytically okay. Their whole lineup is not playing like trash according to the numbers. We have guys with OPS pluses of 120, 122, 117. That's not bad. Yeah, they don't have a dude. They don't have a number one right now, but there's a lot of dudes who are playing fine baseball here. And at no point has these things strung together for any point of consistency. And like you look at the Yankees lineup, and again, I really do hate to compare the Mets and Yankees. I did it last week. I'm going to do it again. Like the difference is they have two guys who are freaking superstars. They're absolutely carrying the rest of the Yankees lineup. The rest of the Yankees lineup and the Mets lineup, from a numbers perspective, don't look that much different. Is it as simple as that? The Mets don't have a one, Cody. Is that fair enough to say? Like, is that boiling it down too harshly here, or is it just that the whole team, which should be floating above water as a team and not by star talent, is just not playing good enough?
And no, it's definitely a big part of it. I mean, you get to the middle of the lineup with runners on, and you're expecting, your Lindors, your Martinez's, your Pete Alonso's to produce, and they just haven't. I mean, Alonso doesn't even lead the team in RBIs. It's Brandon Nimmo, who's largely been batting leadoff for the most part this year. So it's just when you don't have those guys performing even close to the back of the baseball card, which is the reference we like to use so often, but they're not even in the ballpark of what they've done historically, what we expected of them coming into the season. And so, yeah, that leaves a huge hole, because it's like you might have guys getting on base. Maybe the 1 and 2 spots are doing their job. Maybe the 7 and 8 spots are doing their job. And to some degree they are. I mean, Harrison Bader's been excellent. Tyrone Taylor has moments. Like Francisco Lindor, I kind of like him a little bit better actually at the leadoff spot, and he's getting on a little bit better. But it's never coming together. And they're just, you said it, they are finding unique ways to lose these games. Just yesterday in the first of that doubleheader, they had 3 straight chances at a double play to end the 8th inning and didn't convert any of the 3. The last one, Ohtani beat out. All right, whatever. But they give up a run there. And next thing you know, the Dodgers go on and win. Today, they're tied 3-3. They make a nice comeback. The offense starts going. They're tied 3-3 going into the 8th. What was the score of that game? 10-3.
10-3, bro.
10-3.
It's hard to lose that bad, bro. It's hard to lose that bad. It really is. And it's even like looking through the bullpen names and numbers, there have been some pleasant surprises in the bullpen this year. And somehow there's still a below average pen who seems to blow it time after time. Like, how many good stories has there been in the Mets bullpen this year? I mean, granted, the big one has been a huge bad one in Edwin Diaz being just really bad to this point. But like Reed Garrett's been one of the best bullpen stories in the league this year. And it means nothing to them, to their success. Like it's meaning nothing. So other guys have been very solid. It means nothing.
Even Reed Garrett of late has blown a couple. So it's like hard to get upset with Mendoza, right? Because it's like he's kind of pulled every string that he has. And each guy on separate occasions, today was Ottavino. We all know the struggles of Diaz, who's now been placed onto the IL. The Brooks Raley injury, I knew in the moment was a big one. I didn't think that it was, the end of the season, but right now it feels like the sky is falling. They're 11 games below 500. And again, I don't know where they go from here. Like, it's exhausting. I'm texting my buddy today, who's another Mets fan. And he's like, what do you think we do from here? And I'm like, I really don't have the answer. I told him I'm going on the podcast tonight, and I don't know that I have any definitive answer as to what's to come or what their move should be. We all like doing the GM thing. It's like exhausting trying to figure out what's to come next. But it feels like maybe a real blow it up, move on from these guys, get young, and that probably means another year or two minimum where they're not making the playoffs, where they're not really competing, which is tough to say.
And I guess the blow up conversation, it's not one I want to have just yet. I mean, listen, they are 11 games under 500. That's bad. They can't win at home. They can't win on the road. That's bad. They're not scoring a ton of runs, and they're giving up a lot of runs. That's bad. However, at this point in time, like, do you just give up now? I don't think so. I don't think now is the time to give up. I don't think now is the time to just turn it in. Look, the Phillies and the Braves are two of the 3 or 4 best teams in the Eastern Conference, in the National League, right? The Phillies are the best at this point, and the Braves are probably third. I agree with that. They're probably third in the entire National League. So, yeah, you're in the best division. You're not winning the division. Absolutely not. But, like, you have to just keep putting your best foot forward, at least closer to the All-Star break, and try to get some of these guys some better value at minimum. I mean, you're looking at guys like Jeff McNeil that when he hits a home run, me and you were texting in the group chat like, oh my gosh, it's a miracle. Then he hit 2 home runs in a row in 2 back-to-back days, and we're like, oh my God, Jeff McNeil's alive. Someone told him there's a baseball season happening. And, like, that's a shame. However, like, you can have the blow-up talks now, and you can talk about who you should sell. But frankly, what are you getting for these pieces if it's not Pete Alonso? You're not getting much. Maybe deadline time, you get something for JD Martinez. Maybe you get something for Nimmo. Are those the people you're willing to move on from? Probably. Nimmo probably hurts a little bit more. I personally, like, at this point in time, like, if you can get a haul for him, maybe you have to make the decision at the All-Star break. I don't want to make it now, though, Cody. Am I being too Mets fanny at this point?
No, you see, I mean, you can't make that decision. Like, we can talk about it, you and I, right, fans and media, but if that's a conversation in the clubhouse, then you've already lost. And of course, that can't be it. Apparently, there was more of a closed-door meeting today. I did just see a video of Jorge Lopez, who I don't know who saw, if you're still watching, he threw his glove into the crowd, and Mendoza said something like, that's unacceptable, that we can't have that. And they gave Lopez the chance to walk it back. And he said, no, I don't regret it. We're one of the worst effing teams in the MLB right now. And, I'll be here tomorrow if they want me to be. Essentially, that's what he said. Oh, God. I'm not even, like, paraphrasing that. That's essentially what he said. You could go check the video. And that, to me, is like a checked out mentality. Like, there's going to have to now probably be some type of backlash for him. You have to show that we can't just have that. And again, it's like Mendoza walked into this, 2 months in, there's probably going to be people saying that, this guy ain't the guy for the job and this and that. We said that about Buck Showalter. At some point, it's got to be on the players to perform to their level. It's got to be on the leaders of this team, the Lindors, the Alonsos, and the Nimmos, to step up, and they just haven't. And as far as trading Nimmo, that would make me upset. He was one of the guys that I kind of consider more of a mainstay. Like, as far as I see it, it's probably Lindor and Nimmo, and we'll see about Alonso as far as the people that can stay. The others, maybe you don't get a ton for them, but if nothing else, maybe it's just a refreshing new look, because I just don't have the answer as to why they're this bad. But it's clear as day that there is something very wrong, chemistry-wise, clubhouse-wise, or something else with this Mets team. It's very clear. It's very evident.
And, like, you can get something for Jeff McNeil. It might not be a lot, but maybe it's just time, like you said, to refresh, to reset this locker room a little bit, to add some new energy. I think, like, the Vientos side of things too, for us sitting at home watching, it was obvious that he needed to be on the team. Like, he brought something new to the lineup. He brought something new to the batter's box, and he's been one of the more successful hitters, obviously in, like, a way smaller sample size. But, like, he's been good, right? Like, you even mentioned Tyrone Taylor. Like, his numbers aren't fantastic by any means. Watching him play is, like, kind of refreshing. Like, he has a little bit of a different energy to him when he's out there. Like, he's jumping into the wall, trying to make some big plays. Like, he's bringing in energy to the team that you're not feeling elsewhere. And frankly, with Jeff McNeil, it's hard to feel that at all, because when he's not hitting, he ain't doing much. Even with Lindor, and I know there's tons of Lindor haters out there. I know you're not one of them. You and I have that more aligned than not. Like, he brings a lot to the table. He really does. I know he's been bad. He actually is sneaky raised his batting average like 20 points, but doesn't say much because it was like 190 like a week or two ago. So doesn't say much again, but like he brings something to the table. He brings consistency to the table. Pete Alonso, same concept. McNeil, like, I don't know. It might just be like an addition by subtraction at this point. And I hate to say it because we've had so many good memories with this guy, but at this point, it's becoming way more negative than positive, and I don't know what to do about it.
I couldn't agree anymore. He's one of the guys I highlighted when we did a preseason conversation as to what we thought could be kind of like the X factors of this team. And I remember highlighting McNeil and Marte. And for the most part, I would say that Marte has held up his end of the bargain, especially coming off the injury. He's been fine. Exactly. You know, he hasn't been otherworldly by any means, but he's been pretty darn good. You know, if the other guys were playing even remotely to the standard that he's been at, maybe we're having a different conversation. Maybe if they haven't blown, I think I saw the number was like 8 out of their last 14. I think that was after the game that they lost yesterday afternoon. 8 of 14 games that they had a lead in the 7th inning or later. And some of them are sizable leads. Like maybe this is a completely different conversation if that's not the case. But I saw the game yesterday and I put this on SST. When they were down 2-0 right after McGill threw, and he was phenomenal, unbelievable. And I just saw this story so many times. They get an early 2 runs. I tweeted this. Early 2. They fail to tack on. They have, defensive woes. And I'm like, I'm taking the Dodgers live. No questions asked. It's 2-0. It's going to the pen. I've seen this story. I'm taking the Dodgers plus 520. Like, I've seen enough. And that's exactly how I feel, and that's exactly what happened. So it's hopefully this is a safe space, Pete, because I'm beside myself. It's been horrible.
And frankly, like more so to the point of like, obviously, and you and I are being more so, simple about it when we're saying we're not talking about actually blowing it up at this point in time. I think people who are listening understand what we mean. We mean as we get to the break and whatnot. But like this series against the Dodgers could have gone super differently, and you and I could be having a conversation like, oh my gosh, some juice. Look at this team. They're fighting. They're doing this. They're doing that. They're now only 8 games under 500. Like they're doing something in the right direction. I mean, that's kind of a joke phrase there, but like you beat the Dodgers, who are the second best team in the National League right now, and you feel completely different about this team at this point in time on March 29th, March 30th, whenever this podcast comes out. And now we're sitting here with more of the blown leads, with more of the late game mess ups, with more of the slip ups, with Edwin Diaz on the IL, with Pete Alonso getting X-rays, which came back normal, was the quote I saw on Twitter today. Not negative, normal. I don't know what that means, but whatever. Guess he's okay. And those conversations change. I know we talk about it all the time in football, how like one game changes everything and the narrative can completely switch and we overreact and whatnot. Like this was a chance for the Mets in this series against the Dodgers to literally flip the script for all of us. They lost the 5-2 game, like you mentioned. They lost 3-0. They got shut out there. It was 3-3 in the 8th, and they lost 10-3. You take 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers, and you feel pretty damn good about going into the Arizona, or not into Arizona, home against Arizona in the next series. And like you're looking at this completely differently, yet we sit here today after all these blown leads, after all these terrible losses, with little to no hope about this team flipping it around.
That's exactly right. I mean, you summed it all up, and I'll finish with this. I've done this before. This is coming from a lifelong Mets fan. I know exactly what we're all going through. I always like to make the joke that I consider myself almost like a Mets ambassador. I'm like somebody who I feel like the other Mets fans might come to, or when another team wants to rag on someone, I feel like they come through me because they know I'm diehard. I'm big time. I'm watching almost every game, so I know where we're at in the season. So when you're having these conversations with these people, maybe your coworker who doesn't really follow along, so they caught on the news, hey, the Mets lost, what's going on? There's a couple phrases I got for you. There's more important things in life. That's number one.
Okay.
I'm not on the team. There's nothing I can do about it. That's another good one. Sports aren't everything. I'd be lying through my teeth, but I do say that. At least I've got my health. There's always that. And my all-time favorite, I've been saying for about 20 years, there's always next year. So we're going to get through this together, Mets fans. There is always next year. Throw those phrases around when people are throwing this at you. The I don't cares is a lot easier. Believe me, I know the conversation's coming my way too. So just get prepared. Be ready for battle. And we'll see. Who knows? Maybe there's a whole different June coming. We've seen the June swoon. Maybe there's, Mets June to the moon or something like that. I don't know.
Put it on a t-shirt, Cody. Mets June to the moon. I love it. We got it.
Let's
We're
do
coming
it.
back, baby. Let's go. Look at it. Listen, there's all these reasons to believe that they're going to come back. Kodai Senga's getting healthy, right? Not. That's one guy we didn't mention yet. And I'm not trying to hate on Kodai Senga because he seems wonderful, but I got to say, the one thing
I almost spit my water out on that one.
As Cody almost spit his water out there. The one thing that you really do miss in this rotation is a stopper. It really, really is. Again, to compare it to the Yankees, which I know is throwing smoke in the water, throwing something in the water. What is that phrase? Idiom? I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. There's something that I
know where you're going with it, but I got
I'm going somewhere. Like, the Yankees don't have Garrett Cole, but they've had like 3 stoppers this year in their rotation of like others. We use the term others a lot with basketball. Like, the Yankees have mostly others in their rotation right now, and they're all pitching damn well. The Mets have a rotation full of others who are all pitching okay or bad. They needed desperately that one reliable starter who's just going to shove every time he gets the ball, and it just hasn't happened. They've missed Kodai Senga so much. You needed to just say that before we moved on. Right before we moved on.
I will say this because I feel like Luis Severino needs some shout out and some love for how well he's thrown. He's been kind of, more or less the stopper. Sean Manaea has been pretty good. Like, that's the thing. Like, you just got 7 innings of no runs against the Dodgers from Tyler McGill and lost the game.
Oh,
and the one person we haven't mentioned just because, I know. And it's like, what? But the one person we haven't mentioned, I know you tweeted about it. You guys know how high I've been on him. I couldn't imagine this downfall from it. But the Francisco Alvarez injury is absolutely killing this team from an energy standpoint. And I think, and I thought this early with Edwin Diaz from a game calling standpoint, because I would watch Diaz and go, what the hell is he? Like, there was a game he threw literally 13 straight sliders before he got beat on one. 13 straight sliders. Never went to his fastball. And there was another one against the Phillies where I couldn't believe that he threw a fastball to Bowman. It hit him on the hand instead of throwing and there was just a couple times where I'm like, I wonder if that's an Alvarez thing. Him calling the game, the trust that he has, the chemistry he has, beyond obviously the offensive presence and his energy. So I know that they're missing the heck out of that guy. I don't have to talk any more about how high I am on him. But it shouldn't mean the absolute detriment of the team. It shouldn't mean that they're 11 games under 500 now.
Yeah, 100%. Nito up until today has been like a 0 at the plate, right? And Alvarez just being in that middle of the lineup, you just know that there's that swing that can change games. He can win games, right? He's a catcher, and you can liken him to a true power hitter where like his numbers at the end of the day may not be as good as your star first baseman. However, he can literally just win you games with the pop that he has. And they've been missing that for sure. But let's wrap it up on the Mets. Let's move on. Subway Sports Talk, Pete Kennedy, Cody O'Connor. Let's talk New York Yankees and have a better time, I guess. I mean, not for me and you, because we don't root for this team, but let's have a better time talking about the New York Yankees. Because, and I mentioned this before, Cody, with the Mets side. I'm like, you look at the Yankees and you go, listen, they've got some guys who are playing pretty good, right? Like Stanton's been pretty good. Volpe's been very good. Verdugo's playing solid baseball. Like, they got some guys playing some good baseball. But the thing that we thought could be true is 100% true, Cody. They have 2 of the best hitters in baseball. They play every game so far, basically, give or take. They are crushing balls left and right. They have combined for over 30 home runs. They are both monsters with an average of a 1,000 OPS combined between the 2 of them. It's insane, Cody. The thing we thought was true is true. Aaron Judge and Juan Soto in the same lineup is absolutely frightening. So shout out to the Yankees fans, man, because for all the talks about Soto adding to this lineup and the Yankee fans who said this is it. We're over the hump. And to the Yankee fans who said it's not enough, we're still not that great. I don't know what the end scenario is going to be here and how it's going to play out for the rest of the season and for the playoffs and et cetera. But this right now is an absolute game breaker, having these two bats in the lineup. It's impressive to watch.
I think as Mets fans, we might have known coming in as well as anyone just how impactful Juan Soto was going to be, just how damn good this guy is. I mean, every single at bat, and I've had Yankees fans tell me this, like every single at bat, it's almost like a spectacle. Like you have to see it, but he's just so locked in. And I've compared Alvarez to him in some senses. Like I'm not saying they're the same hitter. They're not even in the same stratosphere right now. I've just seen Alvarez with that same look after taking a pitch or something, and it's given me some vibes of Juan Soto because I'm just in awe of that man. I think he's like one of, if not the hardest out in baseball, and he gets followed up by Aaron Judge, who, I mean, by any metric can be considered the best hitter in baseball over the last 3 to 4 years. So you have those two, and all you need is just a little bit of a contribution from the other guys, and they feel like they've kind of gotten it from different guys on different nights. And shockingly, that's what a good baseball team is. That's what a good baseball team does. You know, you've got guys that are contributing. You've got the Stanton, like when he's going, it's like, oh my God, this guy's impossible to get out. We know when he's bad, it's really bad. But when he's bad, Volpe's good. When he's bad, Verdugo's been good. And they've just been able to ham and egg in a way that the Mets have simply done the exact opposite of. So the Yanks, I mean, coming into the season, I always say they're going to win 95 games. I don't even know why you guys are worried. I think you said similar too. It's like, yeah, we know you guys are going to be good.
Yeah.
The pitching staff has been the thing I think that's impressed me or surprised me most, the starting staff, because we know the bullpen's going to be good. Everyone knew Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, this lineup's going to be formidable at minimum, and they're going to be probably pretty damn good. You expected Volpe to take a step. Did we expect this big of a leap this quickly? Maybe not, but he's a talented-ass player, man, and he's showing it. So, you know, the Yanks are more looking forward to being able to win this division. That's going to be a hell of a battle with Baltimore going on. I don't think there's any question that they're making the playoffs. I can say that so confidently and easily because I don't root for them, and it doesn't matter to me either way. But, you know, they've been damn impressive. They're almost 20 games over 500 already. And you mentioned it before, but they've got Garrett Cole coming back to add to this rotation. And, watch out when that happens. All bets are off.
So let me ask you a question here, Cody, a little trivia for you. They have their 5, right? Their 5 starters in the rotation. How many outside of their 5 starters have started a game besides them?
I'm going to say 2 outside of their starting 5. 2 pitchers.
Under 1.
Wow.
Cody Poteet. Who the hell is that? Don't know.
What a
Don't care.
dumbass name.
Dumbass name. Guess what? He pitched 6 innings, 1 run earned. That's it. It was
Shocker.
a solo home run. That's what he did on his 1 start. Other than that, you got 12 from Nestor. I think Stroman goes tonight, if I'm not mistaken. I forget who's pitching right now as we speak. Rodon, 11. Schmidt, 11. Heel, 10. So he's the only person who missed 1 start. And you got to remember how important that is to a rotation. Like, and again, just use the Mets because they're right here. You got Buto's got 7. Christian Scott's got 4. Hauser's got 10. Like, you got all these different guys. You got all the different random starts. Now McGill's back. He was in, then he's out. And you got this kind of thing happening. Lucchese came up. He had to start one. Julio Teheran came up for a second. He had to start one. And it's a different thing when you don't have that consistency every single time. And the Yankees had this last year. It was a huge win for them. It kind of fell off a little bit towards the end there. But having those 5 go without Garrett Cole at that level of consistency is something that you actually couldn't have asked for. I think if you look at the one thing from a Yankees fan perspective that you weren't expecting, it's absolutely those 5 guys just being stalwarts every single night out. Like, yeah, of course, they're going to have their bad start here, bad start there. But the body of work from all 5 of these guys has been absolutely monster. The worst ERA of the bunch at this point in time is a 3.3 from Nestor Cortez. That's the worst of the bunch. 3.3. Everyone else is sub 3 in the starting 5 right now. And when you're looking at the offensive lineup they have going with those 2 stars and the bullpen we knew was going to be great and is great, my God, what a recipe for success without your ace to be this damn good and this damn consistent, it's special. And I mean, if you're a Yankee fan, you might be sitting here saying the other shoe's got to fall. Something's got to go wrong at some point for this team, because at this point, really, everything's gone very, very well.
Yeah, and by the way, they have Luis Gil starting tonight, who's 6-1 with a 2.11 ERA. So that's who's throwing tonight for them. And I noticed, you probably noticed me just smiling like a fool at nothing. The Mets just DFA'd Jorge Lopez, who I just mentioned, threw his glove into the stands and then talked about it afterwards. He's been DFA'd within the time that we were on the podcast. So there's a nice update for you.
I'm sure he's thrilled, by the way. He's probably thrilled.
He's going to be picked up. He's probably going to be like a Brave, and he'll just kill the Mets or something like that, because why not?
Yeah.
Incredible.
Obviously. All right. I have one more thing here on the Yankees before we move on. And I knew when I saw this today that things are good in Yankee world, because it's one of our fellow Mets fans, Cody. I don't know if you saw this online. It's one of my colleagues, if you will. WFAN's Evan Roberts doing his soliloquy. He's on fan socials. They got the little breakout video from the show, which is great. Love it. And he's talking about the Yankees and something that they should be worried about. And he's talking about Anthony Rizzo. He's like, but it's not the offense for Anthony Rizzo. It's his defense. He's not the same player that he was defensively. This is an all-time first baseman, defensive player who's won all these gold gloves. He won a platinum glove, for God's sakes. And his defense is not as good as it used to be. The Yankees should be worried. And I said, God damn it. This is where we're at already in the Yankee season, that when we have to poke holes, we got to go to Anthony Rizzo's defense. That's the hole we're poking here in this team. You know, we don't have anything else. We can't say that, the catching position for the Yankees is a black hole. I mean, that hasn't necessarily been true. I mean, it actually kind of has been true a little bit. But, like, Trevino's been pretty good. Like, that's what we're poking holes at right now, is Anthony Rizzo's defense. If that doesn't tell you everything about where the Yankees are right now, I don't know what to tell you. They're so good that Evan Roberts, one of the most known Mets fans on the media, is poking holes in the Yankees by criticizing Rizzo's defense. That's where we are.
We had to literally stop ourselves, and probably stop ourselves short from all of the Mets struggles, woes, and we're looking that hard to find just one, quote, issue with the Yankees. I mean, that wraps it all up right there. That's incredible.
I was laughing. I watched the video. I'm like, Evan, I love you. I'm so sad. This makes me so sad, though. It makes me so sad that that's the thing.
Poor Evan.
That's like the
that
big
guy,
negative.
Yeah.
Oh, he's real. He's so
diehard.
And he watches. He knows what he's talking.
I was thinking about this today, too. Yeah, he does. But I was thinking about it, like, when the Mets are winning, I'll tune into the Rico Bronya and I'll listen to the fan more because I want to listen to, Mets talk. And when they're losing, I don't do that. And I'm sure there's a ton of people out there just like me who are like, I don't want to hear any more than I have to from when I'm watching it or so on. And that's got to be tough too, because it's not just the fact that you're a diehard fan, and it's also your livelihood to some degree. So that's like a double-edged sword. It's like, I just thought about that this morning though, but that's got to be tough,
I mean, it's why so many people in the media kind of like disassociate with their fans, with their fanhood. Like, a lot of guys do it.
Yeah.
Some guys are just such good fans that they don't really do it. Like Bill Simmons, classically, like, just never gives up on his love for Boston sports, even though he talks, relatively fairly. Generally, I think you and I are bigger fans of his than a lot of others, but like, he talks pretty fairly about all stuff. Every once in a while, he's a little bit of a Boston boy, and that's okay. But like, he has that fanhood. Evan still has that fanhood, and like, I've disassociated with some of my fanhood. I definitely do it with football, for sure. I've disassociated my fanhood quite a bit. Like, I could be a fan watching the game, but when I'm here talking about it, not as big of a fan with the Giants, I don't think. But it's tough, and you're right. What I will say, though, Cody, from my experience working over there, the phones absolutely light up more when the teams are playing bad. I swear. So maybe the masses may not be tuning in as much when the team's playing bad because they don't want to hear it, but the outspoken minority absolutely calls more when the teams are struggling, which is a little counterintuitive, but from my vantage point, absolutely true.
That's really interesting. I hadn't thought about it, but I guess, you got your angry fan and they're like, hell, I want to vent. I want to, call up screaming, and there you go. So that makes sense.
When someone calls in and like I say, hey, what's up, WFAN, you want to talk to Pete Hoffman or whatever, whoever I'm producing for. They're like, yeah, I do. Let me tell you about this Mets lineup, blah, blah, blah. And they just will go on for like 5 minutes. I'm like, okay. Yep. Okay. I got, okay. Yep. Yeah. Okay. For sure. Yep. All right. Let me put you on. Okay. All right. All right. What's your name? Where you call? I'm going to put you on hold. Bye. And I put them on hold. I'm like, all right, these guys are just freaking out. And that's super fun at 3 a.m. usually. I digress. Cody O'Connor, Pete Kennedy. One more topic here for you guys on Subway Sports Talk. We got to talk a little hoops, a little thing where you and I can be fanless of individual team and just appreciate some basketball. I wish we had some better series to talk about here. But I want to ask you first things first, Cody, and we can use these as semi-quick hitters here. We can kind of scoot through it. What has been your stance on the Boston Celtics road to the finals? Because they've definitely gotten some lucky breaks as far as who they've played, but they've also been the best team the entire year. So when you hear the talk about them kind of walking through the Eastern Conference and just getting right to the finals, what's your reaction to that?
Well, I'll say this. If I was a Celtics fan, I'd be saying, who the hell cares? That's my first reaction. They don't control who they play or who gets injured, and it's unfortunate that it did. But, Kristaps Porzingis also got injured, so it's not like they've come out of it completely clean or unscathed. And it's unfortunate that it happened to Halliburton in that series. It's unfortunate that it was Jimmy before that. And who'd they play before? Oh, the Cavs, right? I'm blanking on who it even was.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I barely even watched, because every time they played somebody, I'm just like, well, they're just going to win. And part of that is, yeah, it's a path. But I think part of that is, like you said, they were the best team in the NBA. We said it from the get-go. We said it from the break. We've been saying it all year. So I'm not surprised that they're here where they are. So it is what it is. It's just how it broke down for them, and we'll see what type of challenge awaits them in the finals, and maybe that's the first time they're truly tested.
Yeah, and I think the thing that people miss the most when they do these conversations is, like, this does happen more often than we realize, right? Like, every single year there's somebody who wasn't at full strength. Oh, this guy was playing on a bum foot and had surgery as soon as the season ended. Oh, this guy was out, or, like, whatever it is. There's always going to be something for some team in the playoffs, so it is what it is. But I also think part of the reason why I chose the Celtics to win the finals before the playoffs started was this exactly. Like, the East just wasn't as strong, where the West is a bloodbath to the standpoint where the Timberwolves can beat the Nuggets. Guess what? The Nuggets could be beating the Mavericks right now, right? Like, the Thunder could have beat the Mavericks, and the Timberwolves could have beat the Thunder, right? Like, all of these teams are interchangeable in the sense that they're all playing at a peak of their powers. They're all top dogs, and they're beating each other up. Even with this Mavs Timberwolves series, this might end up going 5, 6, 7. Who's to say? The Celtics had a much easier path. Whether the Knicks were fully healthy, Jimmy Butler was fully healthy, and the Pacers were fully healthy, or the Cavs for that matter, like, it was still easier than the Timberwolves and the Mavericks and the Nuggets and the Thunder. It's still even the Lakers for that matter. Like, the Lakers are probably equal to some of these Eastern Conference teams at this point in time. They played the Nuggets just pretty damn good again. They were up in, like, 3 of those games? So that was my main reason on picking the Celtics to win the finals in the first place. Now, second question on the Celtics here, Cody, and I'm sure that you're locked and loaded on this one. What is your stance on the Tatum conversation? Because there's a lot of people out there who want to bury this guy and say he's not a top 5 player. He's not a top 3 player. He's not close to sniffing Luka. He's not even sniffing Ant right now. And then there are some people who will come out here and back Tatum and say, no, you're not looking at the big picture. He is that guy. He is top 5. He is XYZ. So where do you land on Jayson Tatum?
He's got to be, like, the most difficult person to pin down in this conversation, because all of his success, all of their playoff success, and it's almost like we're going to try to not take it away, but knock him down in a way because of the people who have been around him. But this is a similar argument that I was trying to make when it came to All NBA, because I thought Jalen Brunson had deserved that spot over Tatum. And my reasoning was, Jalen Brunson did more with less. The Celtics as a collective were an unbelievable team. And you could have had 2 people on the second team. You could have had multiple all defensive team players. That would have been all fine with me. But I thought Brunson had done more than Tatum. So with Tatum, the thing that I'm impressed by is how much he's been impacting games without scoring, especially lately, making more right plays. But I still watch late and down the stretch, and I'm like, oh, here comes the ISO ball. There's still a little bit of you go, I go. And I don't love that style. I think that's going to be tough to beat a great team. If he wins the finals, I really don't have a great answer for you, because when you go through the list, if you can sit here and definitively tell me that he's a top 5 player, I think I'm going to counter with 5 players that I consider better than him. And I think I could do that pretty quickly. So if you're asking me if he's top 5, I still don't believe he is. I think it doesn't really matter, though. Like, if I'm a Celtics fan, you might want to argue it, but who really cares? If your team wins the title, that's all that should matter. And his team as a collective is the strength, not just him. That was kind of a cop-out answer.
And part of that, but I think it's the right answer, though, Cody, because I think part of his strength is working with the collective. And if you look at like Luka and Jayson Tatum side by side, at the end of a game, you trust Luka more in that ISO ball situation, probably because he does the ISO ball situation most of the game. Jayson Tatum's not doing that most of the game. So he's not as comfortable in those positions, which is, argued to be for better or worse. I can very much argue it's for the better of the team that he's not ISO balling the whole time. I think one of the drawbacks on Luka has been the James Harden effect, where people said, how is this going to work for you to have a 40% usage in the playoffs? Like, it's never worked before. Why is it going to work now? Now having Kyrie has obviously changed that balance a little bit. I think that's helped him a lot. But when you see Luka go, 15 to 35 seconds left, ISO ball, top of the key, let me cook, you feel good because you just saw him do it 20 times. You saw Jayson Tatum do it maybe twice. And I think that's one of his strengths as well. And that's like a little bit of a cop-out answer as well. It's like, one of his strengths is his weakness, is kind of what I just said, right? But that's kind of how I feel. Like, it's impressive. And in the sense of like the Brunson versus Tatum thing, in my heart of hearts, as a basketball fan, not as a Knicks fan, I want my star to be fully engaged with the rest of the team. And I know like Brunson made the right play a lot. There were a lot of times where he was trying to be the guy, where he did feel like he had to do it himself. And maybe that's because the Knicks weren't as deep and balanced of a team as the Boston Celtics. But in that heart of mine, I want my star player to go out there and make the right play constantly, not to force, to use all the strengths that the team has. So I think Tatum does deserve some feathers in his cap for that. However, I do agree. Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic, SGA, Giannis Antetokounmpo are easily no-brainer 4 people that are better than Jayson Tatum. I'll hear arguments for about 4 or 5 other guys, but those 4 are non-negotiable, in my opinion. I don't think I missed anyone who's clearly in the top besides those 4. Did I? I don't think so.
Well, there's going to be a Sixers fan yelling about Embiid, but he can't be because we're talking about the playoffs.
What are we doing?
He can't be in that conversation anymore, right? I agree.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone else, but yeah.
Yeah, so that's that. So I don't know. If he wins the finals, though, here's how the NBA landscape works. He's a top 5 player. If the Celtics win the finals, Jayson Tatum is now top 5. And that's what it is.
Probably.
All right, last question for you, Cody. Here we go. The Dallas Mavericks here. If Luka Doncic is able to make the finals and win the finals, what does that do to his standing in the NBA?
I think it leapfrogs Giannis and cements him pretty firmly as the second best player in the NBA. That's my opinion. If he finishes this off, I still think Joker is my number 1. But I think Luka leapfrogs Giannis and becomes the number 2. That's my quick answer for you.
I think what it does, too, for Luka is anybody who didn't believe in this guy, they will now have no choice, right? And the only people out there in the NBA ether that will say it's still not all Luka are the Kyrie maniacs out there who believe that Kyrie Irving is like a top 5 NBA player every single year when he's on the court, when he's never been a top 5 player in the NBA. That's just me, whatever. I think those are the only maniacs out here who will not agree with you completely that Luka Doncic is solidified as a top 2 player. And one other thing I've been thinking about, Cody, most players who win the finals as the best player on the team win their first MVP before they win their first finals. Think about that. LeBron James won his first MVP before his first finals. Giannis, first MVP before first finals. Kevin Durant, same thing. Even Dirk Nowitzki, same thing. Tim Duncan might not count in that regard. Kobe doesn't count because he won with another MVP in his own right of Shaq. But a lot of these guys who are the best players on finals teams. Did he win one before the first finals?
It's right there. It's either he won finals and then MVP, or he won. You know what I mean? It's literally right there. But I'm not 100% sure which way it went. I'll look that up.
Jokic won his MVP and then the finals.
Team on it.
That's interesting though, because I was just thinking about that today. Like a lot of these guys who do finally win the finals, they're usually justifying in hindsight their regular season MVPs, which is a silly concept, but it's what we do as a basketball collective. And Steph, I'm trying to remember, maybe he did win the first finals and then go back-to-back MVP?
I think it's the same year, if I'm reading this right. I think he won his first 14, MVP 15 finals and the 15. So technically he'd have won his MVP before his finals, but it's the same season. So you're onto something there.
Dwayne Wade never won an MVP, but he also had Shaq on his team when he won that final before LeBron. But still, best player, best team usually wins an MVP before the finals. Like Kawhi's the outlier. He's never won an MVP, but he was clearly the best player on the best team when they won. That's the outlier. Generally speaking, it's been very much the other way around. Like these guys kind of get their regular season chops of MVP in, and then they solidify it by winning the finals. And Luka might have a chance to do it opposite, where if he wins the MVP if he wins the finals and the finals MVP, next year it's going to be like, well, he just proved that his process works. They're not empty stats, clearly. MVP, Luka, boom, done. Same thing for Jayson Tatum. Could be. Anyways.
Yeah, it'll be like that. Oh, we have to give it to him now, right? Oh, we got to give it to him. Like at this point, he's going to have to win one, which is kind of what I was thinking against Joker. Like, oh, he's won 2 of the last 3. Does he really need another one? Give it to SGA for the love of God. But I've already done that,
man. All right, here we go. Last thing for you here, Cody. Very, very last thing, not sports related. It's an idiom related question. And I already blew an idiom earlier when I didn't know what I was trying to say. But here's one for you. Are you familiar with the idiom that goes, oh, you have another blank coming?
You've got another thing coming.
I learned today that it's not another thing coming. It's another think coming.
Shut up.
Like you have
can't
another
do that to me live
coming.
like this.
So you basically thought, this is according to rd.com. You can look it up yourself. So you thought something.
Oh, I'm on it.
You thought something, but you have another think coming because you got this one wrong. You got to think on this one again. And that's the idiom for you. You learn something new every day, Cody O'Connor.
The first thing that shows up is you have another think coming. That's the first.
I don't make these things up, sir. I don't make these things up.
Think again, essentially, is what they're saying.
Yeah.
I hate the English language is so freaking annoying. Oh my God. That's incredible.
Oh, that's a great way.
I think that's the third time now that I've said that's incredible, but holy cow. I'm mind blown.
I love it. All right, Cody O'Connor, Pete Kennedy, Subway Sports Talk. We talk some Mets, we talk some Yankees, we talk some NBA playoffs. We'll be back to do more of all those same things, whether the finals start with 5 days off for both teams, or maybe we get a longer Minnesota and Dallas series. We shall see. But nonetheless, Cody O'Connor, thank you as always. Shout out to our boy Pat Boyle, hosting it up on BetQL and Fan and the whole 9. We miss you on the pod. Patty B, we'll talk to you soon. That's all we got. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review on your podcast app. Hit us on socials at Subway Sports Talk. You never know who will be tweeting. Might be me. Might be Cody. You'll never know. All right. Cheers.